Good morning and welcome to the Standing Committee's meeting for Wednesday, November 13th, 2024. All council meetings will be live streamed on the city's website, and for guest speakers joining us at the table, please do not turn your microphones off. Our first order of business is roll call. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Mr. Charlin.
Here.
Mr. Coghill. Ms. Gross.
Here.
Mr. Lavelle.
Here.
Mr. Mosley. Mrs. Cale Smith. Mrs. Warwick. Mr. Wilson.
Here.
Mrs. Strasburger, Chair.
Here.
5 members present.
Thank you. Our next order of business is public comment. I would like to remind all speakers that the rules of council state that comments are limited to matters of concern, official action, or deliberation which are or may be before City Council. Profanity will not be permitted. Please state your name and neighborhood for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Our first registered speaker is Dr. Ronald Lynn Miller.
Dr. Ronald Lynn Miller, Belsilver, also New Delhi, India, which is the home of, in my view, the world's greatest democracy. More than 600 million people voted in their national election this summer. Something to learn from them. Global Intelligence Society candidate for president, 2028, in order to get the U.S. Supreme Court to go with vote by voter verification and the U.S. Congress to begin to pass an anti-electoral college amendment to the Constitution. Citizens from across the world, but particularly from 5 regional Republican democracies, Nigeria, Nihon, India, Mexico, and Deutschland, they ridicule us on this. They find us completely out of line on this. Concerns of council include the presidency of council and brain gain in Pittsburgh City. Brain function loss, foundations, 1, amyloid plaques, 2, neuronal tau tangles, 3, granulonuclear degeneration, and neuron cell loss, number 4. The U.S. American BFL was clearly evident on the 5th of November, 2024. Congratulations. The city and country RPDP frame produced a probable president with a superlative information base and an unsurpassed intelligence, I'm being sarcastic, whose racist, sexist, anti-scientific, imagery-laced rhetoric jumbles show signs of the effects of BFL 1 through 4. For November 2024, I said here that 5 November would be our Day of the Dead, and I was right. The decimated Democratic Party as we know it is dead. Its remains are being cannibalized by Democratic Party people on Democratic Party people. There is no leader. And the Republican Party, as we have known it, is also dead. Only the Trump-dominated party remains with one Führer. The media dinosaurs, KDKA, WTAE, and WPXI, say that Trump won. He did not win until the Electoral College meets. Now, President of this council, Lavelle, was elected with 8 people, with 50 people who are witnesses. He can contact the 538. If he gets 270 out of that 538, he can become president of the United States.
Thank you very much. Our next registered speaker is Ikahana Halmakina.
Greetings and good day. My title is Chief Ikahana Halmakina. I am the Grand Inca of the Iroquois Confederacy of Aborigine American people. And today I would like to remind City Council of the oath that was taken to support, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution for the state of Pennsylvania. With that oath, you must adhere to Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3 of the Constitution, which states, and excluding Indians not taxed. So not to be taxed means not to be handled, not to be censured, not to be enumerated. I stand before you as the chief of my nation. There are clear jurisdictional boundaries that prevent your agency, your police officers, from handling and censuring and enumerating and assimilating indigenous people into your system. As I explained yesterday, the Declaration of Independence is very clear and states that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted to secure the people's rights. Again, let me read that again. Governments are instituted to secure people's rights, not to willy-nilly interpret them how you wish. You're supposed to be protecting and serving people, deriving your just powers from those who consent. And hopefully I don't need to explain what the word consent means. I consider all of you, all five of you, to be very intellectual beings. You must consent to be governed. And that when any form of government becomes destructive of my life, liberty, and my pursuit of happiness, it is the right, it is the duty of the people to alter or abolish it. I will continuously remind you of your duties and obligations to the people. It is our right to institute new government, laying its foundations on such principles and organizing it in a way empowered that we see fit to likely infect our safety and our happiness. This is important. You can't willy-nilly pick and choose what you follow and what you do not. This is the letter of the law. We're not asking you for anything new. I do not appreciate my rights being violated. I will not tolerate my rights being violated. If this is truly to be a city for all, then make sure that you are following the letter of the law.
Thank you very much. There being no further registered speakers, we will now take comments from those in the audience wishing to speak. Are there any speakers wishing to come to the podium?
Good morning, Special Agent Sunshine. How's everybody? Let me just start with prayer. Father, thank you that when the odds are against me, you are on my side. Thank you that nothing and no one is more powerful than you, and that I can dare to pray bold prayers. I believe that you are going to bless me with answers that are beyond my imagination. In Jesus' name, amen. The title of what I want to talk about today is how did we get here? Or should I focus on myself? I try not to, but how did we get here? Women and children are being discriminated against. Why? Because we're rejecting men with money and creating our own businesses without them, which has now led to us being forced into poverty. If I can't have her, nobody can. I'll keep her homeless, jobless, and broke till she comes crawling back to me. Really? Well, I'm crawling to the Lord. So now your battle is with him, whoever is doing this to me. What I'm doing online is not in vain, because God is my source, my strength, and my salvation. So whatever I do in his name will be blessed, no matter who comes against me. In Jesus' name. Proverbs 11:17 says, those who are kind benefit themselves. Verse 18 says, a kind-hearted woman gains honor, but ruthless men gain only wealth. What are y'all doing with your money? Like, really? I challenge each and every one of you to take a tenth out of your income today and bless somebody that lives on the street. You can start with me. I've been out here over a year now, but I had the favor of God on my life, and he keeps bringing me in here to make y'all look at me. It's his strength that has me standing here. No man will ever have more power than Almighty God. Period. I guess that's what he brought me here to say. We have to be servant leaders. Really, servant leaders. That's the only way this homeless situation is going to change. You guys need to take money out of your taxes and bless us. It's over 47,000 of us out here. Like, really? Y'all can't do one person? I'm going to keep praying about it. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you very much. Are there any other speakers? Seeing none, we will now move on to our standing committee's agenda. Our first committee is the Finance and Law Committee, and we have new papers, Bill 1118.
Bill 1118, ordinance amending Title I, Administrative, Article 9, Boards, Commissions, and Authorities, Chapter 177C, Gender Equity Commission, in order to align scope of work with the jurisdiction of the city government and ensure inclusivity in the commission's actions and leadership.
Motion to approve.
Discussion?
Second discussion, Councilperson Charlin.
I think there's some people here to join us for this.
Just think about right to discussion in a second.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hello, everyone. Want to go ahead and introduce yourself? Hi, everybody. My name is Adriana Brandon. I'm the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Manager for the Office of the Mayor, and I also have the pleasure of staffing the Gender Equity Commission.
Thank you, and if you can speak right into the microphone, you can adjust it as
Apologies.
necessary.
Yeah, they're all kind of turned up right now.
Yeah, you
I
can
don't-
just bend it down.
Is that a little better?
That's better, thank you.
That'll probably help.
All right.
And Felicity Williams, Deputy Chief of Staff to Mayor Gainey. Happy to be here with you all this morning and answer any questions that you all might have.
So, can you tell us a little bit about what we're doing here with this change in scope?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Gender Equity Commission was created first in 2016. The foundation of it was the Convention to End Discrimination Against Women, which is a UN treaty that was created to have an understanding of what rights looked like for women on a national basis. Because that was never adopted by the United States federal government, it's been adopted by many cities, including ours. I think it was a really incredibly historically significant piece of legislation, but we understand that the understanding of gender equity has changed since 1979 when CEDAW was first introduced. And so these amendments are just to kind of build off of that foundation, expand on that understanding of the gender spectrum, make sure that everybody feels included, as well as ensuring that the Gender Equity Commission is aligned with the city's abilities and their authority, which hasn't always happened in the past, and so we wanted to ensure that that was happening in the future.
In what ways is that changing for the future? In what ways was it not aligned, or what was it not empowered?
Yeah, so some of the recommendations that were released in 2020, for instance, some of them were capable of what the city was able to do, and some of them were out of the scope. Some of them were specifically like race-based, and we understand that, like, for instance, they recommended like universal basic income, which on the basis of giving it to Black women specifically, and that is not something that the city would be able to do. So we really wanted wanted to make sure that everything was aligned, along with things like one of the original focus areas is education, but there was never a seat for anyone from PPS. So those are just two smaller examples, but we wanted to make sure that in the future, when they're giving recommendations, when they're providing research, that they are aligned with what the city is capable of doing so that we can address gender inequities.
I can expand upon that a little bit too. Adriana talked about how this was all based on an international UN convention, which does not take into consideration, obviously, federal law, state law, or local law and jurisdiction. And so, as Adriana mentioned, it was a great foundation for us as a city to advance the Gender Equity Commission and to base it off of CEDAW. But that happened in 2016, and we have learned a lot since then. And so we want to make sure that we are continuing to be a learning government and that we are being responsive to those things. And then more specifically, as she mentioned, aligning that jurisdiction of the ordinance with the jurisdiction of the city. So I just want to underscore the one point about education. As we know, we do not have the authority or jurisdiction over Pittsburgh Public School District, right? But that doesn't mean that we can't have influence in that area. And so in order to have influence, understanding how critical and important education is to gender equity, we restructured the ordinance to clearly identify that that is an area of influence, right? And then aligning in order to have that influence, as Adriana said, ensuring that we add representation to the Gender Equity Committee with someone from PPS who can be part of that conversation and carry those conversations back to PPS.
Great. So you did bring up something kind of a little bit off topic, but something that is important. We were discussing in my office just yesterday. With that UBI pilot, where we ended up canceling the pilot, did we give the money back to Jack Dorsey?
So we did not spend any money towards the implementation of that pilot. I believe, because this happened before we took office, there was a portion of the funding, which again, I said I believe, so we'd have to check this, that had already been allocated to a consultant to start to build or have some conversations, but we as an administration did not spend any of that funding towards that, again, because as Adriana mentioned, the way the program was structured, we would not have been able to have a race-based program using federal dollars. So we would not have been able to implement that program as it was structured by the previous administration.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just curious about the Jack Dorsey portion of that. If someone could follow up with me, that I
Sure.
would like to
Happy
know.
to look into it.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, that answers my questions here on this bill, and I appreciate that. And I believe it's just that Councilwoman Warwick serves as our representative on the Gender Equity Commission.
So
I've been on the Gender Equity Commission since its
Oh.
inception.
You do? Okay. I apologize. I
But
misunderstood.
there's been this is interrogatory, so I'm sorry.
Interrogatory.
So I'll speak into the mic. So there's been a working committee to do this legislative draft, and I think several members have all
Yes.
attended
Gotcha.
the working, the legislative working committee.
Correct. Thank you, Councilwoman Gross.
All right. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilman Coghill.
Sure.
Thanks for being here, Adriana and Phyllis.
Thank you.
I just wanted to know, how are you funded? Are you funded? Do you have any paid positions? Nobody's...
You want to explain your role?
So I'm the staffer of the commission, and I obviously work in the mayor's office, and so my role, as submitted in the legislation, would be to make sure that all of the administrative duties continue, regardless of how many commissioners are specifically on the commission. So it's tailored similarly to the LGBTQIA commission, where commissioners are not paid. They serve for about a 3-year term. And I, as their staffer, would ensure that those roles are continuing to be filled, that if there's any outreach that's needed, that I'm available to do so that commissioners wouldn't have to allocate all of that time. And so, yeah, so that's
So there's no
my role
funding
specifically.
required. You're paid from the administration
Exactly.
and their payroll. All the commissioners are volunteer.
Yes.
Just like every other commission.
Right.
And I would just add to that, similarly, the way that, for example, planning department staff the planning commission. Adriana has an expansive portfolio that she's project managing in the mayor's office, one of those being staffing this commission. And then as an advisory body, there aren't necessarily set line item resources that are needed, but one of the things that we built into this was for them to make recommendations in order to advance gender equity in the city, especially during budgetary periods, but to this body.
That's all. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 1118, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Affirmative recommendation.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all
Thank
for
you
your
very
work on
much.
this. Bill 1119.
Bill 1119, resolution authorizing the city's acceptance of a deed and/or deeds conveying all the city's right, title, and interest, if any, in 3 parcels located in Council District 3 in the 17th Ward, being identified as Block 3B, Lot 100,
Motion to approve.
Block 3C, Lot 182, and Block 12A, Lot 130, from the Urban Development Authority of Pittsburgh to the City of Pittsburgh at no cost to the city.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? I do want to maybe make a slight voice amendment. I believe it should be Urban Redevelopment Authority of Pittsburgh.
Last I checked, that's what it was, yeah.
We have
Second, you need a
a
second?
motion, yeah. Well,
second.
Can I get a motion? Because I can't make a motion.
Motion to amend.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion is accepted. Any discussion on Bill 1119 as amended? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 1119, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Affirmative recommendation. That moves us on to invoices. Do we have a motion on invoices?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of invoices, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Invoices are approved. Moves us on to interdepartmental transfers. We have a motion.
Second. So moved.
Second.
Discussion? So this is, I did want to note as flagged by our budget office that the transfers to cover the cost of assuming a lease agreement from the Allegheny Health Network with OCHS. Just so we're all seeing that and we're aware. All those in favor of interdepartmental transfers, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Wait, I'm sorry. Which lease agreement with AHN is that?
This is a transfer to cover the cost of assuming a lease agreement with the Allegheny Health Network in the amount of $72,500.
Is there someone here that can explain that?
Eric Patrick's.
I'm curious if this is related to, or which program this is related to.
Take care of that out there first. See what's going on out there.
Hey, good morning, Patrick Cornell, Chief Financial Officer. So this is related to the Roots program in the Office of Community Health and Safety. The amount that is available, as you know, the process changed over the past 2 years. The encumbrance we have with the Singer Institute Allegheny Health Network is in 53901, and it needs to shift to a 54 account so that we can be able to process the contract that we have absorbed from AHN to pay the lease. This one is in particular for the north side lease.
Let's pretend I don't understand what a 5.3 or a 5.4 account is.
So on the accounting side, our chart of accounts splits up expenditures into their general considerations. Right now, the money's in a professional services line, and we just have to move it to a land and buildings line to be able to appropriately pay the rent.
Which lease is this paying for?
This is for the one on in the north side.
The north side?
Yes.
Okay. Is that one operational right now?
Yes.
Okay. And this is a lease for a year there?
I believe it brings up the remainder of the term, which might go for 2 years in that space.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for explaining that. I probably am going to have follow-up questions, though. Reach out to you later about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Gross.
Thank you. Mr. Cornell, I'm curious, and this is speaking to the last bill, I apologize. If I don't remember ever voting to receive dollars from the Twitter owner, Jack Dorsey. Can you check?
I can
So
look into that.
If Jack Dorsey sent a check to the city of Pittsburgh, like, where is it?
We would have had to process it.
So does somebody else have it? Right?
I can look into that.
Right. So like my point is like, if Jack Dorsey sent money to the city of Pittsburgh, who's got Jack Dorsey's money? Because I think that's a really good question. Like, well, if that actually did happen, but it didn't come here, where did it go?
Anything that would have been over $500 would have at least been read in as a
Okay,
communication
yeah,
to
so
council,
it's-
if not fully approved.
It was, I think, COVID, so it's possible that we, like, you know, a lot of times we don't remember things very clearly during that kind of crazy time. So yeah, if you could check and let us know, I think that'd be great.
Sure.
Thank you, appreciate it.
You.
I think we're very much out of order here. I think we already voted on this, and then I asked questions.
We'll take another, given the discussion, we'll take another motion on interdepartmental transfers, just to cross our T's.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Glad we had the discussion. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Interdepartmental transfers are approved. Thank you. That moves us on to P cards. Is there a motion on P cards?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. The one note on P cards is that there are multiple charges from the Department of Law for the Allegheny County Department of Courts that altogether do total over $5,000. However, as you'll see, these are charges for legal filings for separate cases and do not require a waiver of the rules. Any further discussion on P cards? Seeing none, all those in favor of P cards, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
P cards are approved. That moves us on to Public Safety and Wellness Committee chaired by Councilman Coghill.
Bill number 1113, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of public safety to enter into a professional service agreement or agreements with United Diagnostic Services for professional services relating to voluntary health screenings for all Bureau of Fire personnel for a total cost not to exceed $1,178,000 over 5 years.
I have a motion to amend. I think Louise put it in front of us. It's just a
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve first.
motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Councilman Coghill, motion to amend.
There's an amendment I need to make. There's just a printing error. It was $1,178,000, and it's supposed to be $125 at the end of it, and you know it's a difference of $125. So motion to amend.
Second. Second. All those in favor of amending Bill 1113, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Bill is amended. Discussion on amended bill. Any further discussion, Councilman?
No, not for me.
Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 1113 as amended, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Affirmative recommendation. That moves us on to Public Works and Infrastructure Committee chaired by Councilperson Warwick.
Bill 1171, resolution providing for an agreement or agreements with Diamondoff Inc. for costs associated with the lighting management system project, providing for the payment of the cost thereof not to exceed $3,523,162.50.
Motion to approve?
We have a second?
Second.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 1171, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Affirmative recommendation. New papers. Bill 1120.
Bill 1120, resolution authorizing the mayor, the director of the Office of Management and Budget, and the director of the Department of Public Works to enter into an agreement or agreements with the Recycling Partnership for the purpose of receiving grant funds in the amount not to exceed $210,000 and an in-kind support from the Recycling Partnership in an amount not to exceed $125,000 for public outreach around the city's recycling services.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Discussion on 1120.
Yes.
Councilperson Charlin.
Is someone here to discuss this? So. Thanks for being here.
Good morning.
Morning.
Marcel Newman, Assistant Director in Public Works.
So I'm always very concerned about outreach in terms of recycling and waste management. I think there's a huge opportunity for us to do a better job with letting people know about their responsibilities here. What is this going towards?
So the $210,000 is an actual cash payments to the city of Pittsburgh for 2 separate mailers that will go out to city residents, educating them about the current recycling efforts as well as new recyclables that we're going to start permitting. Recycling such as the tubs, the yogurt cups, plastic number 5.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that's what that is going for.
So this is separate from the calendars, right? This is not.
This is completely separate. Two separate mailers.
Outreach that we're doing by mail.
That's right.
And we're only reaching out to people by mail on this. We're not doing.
We're also doing signage at our drop-off locations, to part of that funding. So more education, outreach, any other way that we currently do, plus the 2 mailers.
Great. Well, I'm very excited about that. I do have a question though, because again, I'm especially working through quality of life. I've learned that there's such an education gap in our people's understanding of what we require and what we ask for in waste management here. Do we have a way of evaluating our success from these mailers? Do we know is there a way for us to follow up and determine, is this message penetrating? The reason I ask is that, there's a certain population that checks their mail frequently. There's a certain population, I'm thinking of my neighborhoods of Oakland and Southside that don't necessarily check their mail as frequently and may not pick up on that. Do we have any way to gauge what our success is in terms of penetrating through a mailer?
Not directly, but as part of the conditions of this grant is to give feedback to Recycling Partnership about what is collected, and part of it is what they notice at Recycle Source and our MRF organizations, like the people that are actually collecting and using those recyclables, they will have access to that information.
Okay. Well, I will definitely be interested to see how this goes, and we want to know how we can help more, because there are a lot of things that I think environmental services can do better, but there are a lot of things that I think we need to do a better job of making sure residents are aware of, that they need to participate and take ownership of these programs as well. So.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I will take you up on that offer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any ideas you've got? Lord knows Alicia in my office is all over them.
Yes.
So.
I love Alicia. Thank you.
Yes. No, thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Gross. I wanted to say something.
Thank you, Director Newman. I think when you said plastic tubs number 5, like yogurt tubs, everybody, like half of us at the council went, what? So can you tell us a little bit more about this exciting new change that I'm very excited about?
Yes. So, your plastic yogurt cups, your butter tubs, those, we've been sort of accepting, but not really ramped up the education about it. But now we can fully accept it. We will notify all the residents about it.
So we found a buyer for them, or how
so they're easily recyclable. What we've noticed, the process for them is much easier. Now, clamshells,
yes.
We don't, it is plastic number 1, but it really doesn't fit the definition of something that can be processed further and improved upon to make it a recyclable product. But, plastic jugs can, water bottles can. I don't understand the complete chemistry behind it.
No, that's what I'm asking. But we have the no plastics please, and there was we have some volunteer websites, and Sabrina in Heidelberg, please forgive me, she's designed this great website that was really advising people just to do things that had a neck, right? Like so a plastic bottle, or like you said, like it's something that you pour something out of, right?
Yes.
And to not do the kind of smaller container things, right? Like you're saying, like yogurt cups and things like that. So now we'll be able to add those too. I want to tell you, like my garbage has increased since there's so many kinds of plastics that I can't put in the recycling that we used to be able to put in the recycling, right?
Right.
And so, you try to do your best to not buy things in plastic, but in modern life, it's nearly impossible.
There's a lot of things that we still strive for, like plastic food, takeout containers. They still don't qualify yet, but that's something that we want to work for.
Great. That's wonderful to hear. So just so the public, we're receiving, and also congratulations that we're not spending $200,000 out of the budget, but we're receiving $200,000 to do a mailer to let more of the public know that we're increasing the kinds of plastics that you can put into recycling. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I caught that and say congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, sorry, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councilman Wilson, followed by Councilman Coghill.
Thanks. I love the mailer. I have a couple questions. So jugs and plastic bottles can go in, right?
Right.
Here's the outstanding question for our household. Can we leave the cap on, or do we unscrew the cap and put it in the trash?
We have to leave the cap off. We have to unscrew the cap.
I'm right.
Put it in the garbage and then recycle the actual bottle.
I'm right. I'm winning. I'm winning the debates at home, so I feel good.
Good. I'm glad I could help.
Every time, taking that cap off, trash, recycling.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, thanks. So make sure that's on the mailer.
Okay. Will do.
So noted for the record. Councilman Coghill.
Good to see you, Marcel.
Nice to see you. Thank you.
Sure. The drop-off center at McKinley, is it still there, or did they move it?
We had to close that down.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
It was
that's
messy.
become
Is that why?
an illegal dump site.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. When I drove
Yeah.
by there, it looked like garbage all over the place. People don't pick up after
Yeah.
themselves. So where is it now?
we've put some education, some signage about where people can take the recyclable, but we also have to monitor and make sure people aren't illegally dumping there.
So people who use McKinley, where's the next closest location?
It's maybe the strip district. I don't have. I don't know, but I can get back to you on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm glad it's gone.
Yeah,
it was an eyesore.
it was an
It really
eyesore.
was. I mean, I was going to suggest put a
agree.
fence up in front of it or something
Yeah,
like that, but,
we
you know,
really wanted to keep it, but
Yeah,
it just became too
it was-
burdensome for the community.
we almost have to have somebody man it,
Yeah.
if you really wanted to.
Right, right.
Well,
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, Marcel. Where does our recyclables go? Like, do we transport it to the recycling center? Or what
Recycle source, 2nd Avenue.
Oh, okay, so everything
Yeah, they
goes down there.
process
That's
our
not our
recycling.
operation?
No,
That's not, okay.
no.
We
They
bring
also
everything up.
receive grants for their
Got
recyclables
it.
too.
Right, right. And we don't pay for them
No,
to take it. They don't pay us either for our.
I don't
no.
believe so.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
right. Okay, so it's not like we have a lot of money invested in, other than the mailers and things like that.
Right.
But other than that, there's no fees or anything like that for us.
Not that I don't believe so.
Okay. Yeah, I'm happy he got rid of McKinley. I think it was my district. I don't know. It was one of our districts. No, I don't know what a recycling. It was me. So anyway, I'm glad it's gone. It was an eyesore. But okay, thanks. That's all.
We'll keep an eye on it.
Councilwoman Cale Smith.
Thank you. Just for the public's knowledge, thank you for your work, Marcel. But the drop-off centers are the Strip District, East End drop-off center, at the, their Public Works building, the West End of the 5th Division. Hazelwood has a drop-off center at their site. And then there's others listed, but those are the ones I know that are city-owned. So
No, the
just
2nd Division does. I have to go through it.
Yeah,
There's
I
a
just want
bunch
the
of
public to know
places,
where
yeah.
some of them are, and if we could maybe, put that up on the website or something.
And Councilman Charlin, I'm sorry, Councilman Charlin just noted that when we finish the 4th Division, we're going to have
Yes,
it
that
on,
would have that.
on that premise, not where it was.
Right. Yes, it'll be controlled. There'll be somebody there to
Absolutely.
see
Yep.
what's going on.
Good.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 1120, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Affirmative recommendation. Thank you very much. Bill 1121.
Bill 1121, resolution authorizing the mayor, the director of the Office of Management and Budget, and the director of the Department of Public Works to enter into an agreement or agreements with the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development for the purpose of receiving grant funds from the Community and Economic Assistance Program in the amount not to exceed $50,000 for renovations to the Lewis Playground.
Motion to approve?
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 1121, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Affirmative recommendation. Bill 1122.
Bill 1122, resolution further amending Resolution 466 of 2020, which authorized the mayor and the director of the Department of Public Works to enter into a professional services agreement with Studio Zoo for professional landscape architectural services for Homewood Park infrastructure upgrades by increasing the overall cost by $11,116.80 for a new city cost not to exceed $1,864,472.70 over 1 year.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 1122, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Affirmative recommendation. 1124.
Bill 1124, resolution granting unto Pittsburgh NMR Institute, their successors and assigns, the privilege and license to construct, maintain, and use at their own cost and expense at no cost to the city, a retaining wall, tree planter box walls, and concrete steps at 3221 Forbes Avenue, 4th Ward, 6th Council District.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 1124, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Affirmative recommendation. Bill 1125.
Bill 1125, resolution granting unto UPMC Presbyterian Shadyside, their successors and assigns, the privilege and license to construct, maintain, and use at their own cost and expense at no cost to the city, a new site wall with 3 planters, 2 site signs, a landscape island, a light, 3 concrete benches, and a planting bed that will extend into the right-of-way at 3701 5th Avenue, 4th Ward, 1st Council District.
Second.
Is this the 1st Council District? I believe this is a different council district.
Are we talking about?
Either the 3rd or the 8th Council District. 5th Avenue.
1125.
So let's,
That's the 4th.
I would recommend passing this today and then amending for next week. We'll make an amendment for next week. Okay. Motion to approve. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 1125, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Affirmative recommendation. Bill 1126.
Bill 1126, resolution amending Resolution 468, approved September 6, 2022, granting unto United States General Services Administration, their successors and assigns, the privilege and license to construct, maintain, and use at their own cost and expense at no cost to the city, to install shallow foundation wedge vehicle barriers and a card reader along with existing security compliant bollards, a post and a beam rail, and a swing gate at 1000 Liberty Avenue, 2nd Ward, 6th Council District.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 1125, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Affirmative recommendation. 1126.
That's the one we just read.
That was the 1126.
That was 1126.
Excuse me. That moves us on to Land Use and Economic Development Committee, chaired by Councilman Wilson.
Deferred papers, Bill 983, resolution approving a conditional use application under the Pittsburgh Code Title 9, Zoning, Article 5, Chapter 911, Section 91104.A.22 to the Urban Redevelopment Authority of Pittsburgh, property owner, for authorization to conduct an excavation grading field, major use at 1096 Goodman Street, parcels 129F1 and 129J150, zoned RP, Residential Plan Unit Developments, 14th Ward, Council District 5.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Councilperson Warwick.
Yeah, I just want to say that I am going to abstain on this one. Recuse myself.
So noted. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 983, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. One abstention. New papers, Bill 1114.
Bill 1114, resolution further amending Resolution 863 of 2018, effective January 1, 2019, as amended, entitled, Resolution Adopting and Approving the 2019 Capital Budget and the 2019 Community Development Block Grant Program and the 2019 through 2024 Capital Improvement Program by reducing consultants for plans and studies by $400,000 and increasing facility improvements, recreation, and senior centers by $400,000.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 1114, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Affirmative recommendation, Bill 1135.
Bill 1135, resolution authorizing the mayor of the city of Pittsburgh to enter into an agreement with the Pittsburgh Land Bank, allowing the land bank to independently access city-owned properties for the purpose of streamlining property assessments and facilitating redevelopment.
Motion to approve. Discussion.
Second.
A discussion, Councilman Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to have Director of Finance, Director Gula, and then also the Pittsburgh Land Bank manager, Sally Stademan, to come to the table.
Is that whether she's a manager? I don't know if she's a manager. One shows. I'll call her director.
All right, thanks for
Good
coming
morning.
to the table. Although I already introduced you, could you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Jen Gula. I'm the city's finance director and the city treasurer.
Sally Stadelman, manager of the Pittsburgh Land Bank. Good to see everybody.
Good to see everyone. First, I want to thank our council president for bringing this up. I believe it was a post agenda what we have. This is a bill on the table. Oh, we love discussing the land bank here. So, conversation got a little, you know, a lot of different things get talked about whenever there's properties moving through, you know, from the city to the land bank, and we want to make sure that the land bank is as efficient as possible. So I appreciate the comments that relates to the bill, and what this bill would do would basically authorize the mayor, you know, give authorization that from council that there could be an agreement so that the land bank could access the city-owned properties. I believe that, you know, making sure that this whole thing is streamlined so that we can continue the path of even the mayor's comments yesterday during the budget address of how many properties are being, you know, getting back on the tax rolls and in the hands of people, entities that are going to take care of these properties. And our number one goal is to, you know, create more affordable housing, more housing, and to fix our vacant abandoned property issue in the city of Pittsburgh. So looking forward to, you know, this bill, but also many bills in the future that we can work on together to make sure that that's possible. So I don't see this as anything against the finance department. I just want to make sure that we have agreements in place that the land bank can continue to operate and do the good work that they're doing without really, you know, pulling down the department at all. So looking forward to hearing your thoughts on it, but I think this is a step in the right direction. And I know we had a previous conversation. You did mention that there was some agreements similar to this in place. I'm curious to hear more about that.
So we do agreements, access agreements. They're usually for like a third party for a specific reason that they would need to access property ahead of ownership. Normally it has to do with receiving funding to do their project, and it may involve them taking like soil samples or something like that in order to do certain studies that would actually lead to ultimately getting the funding to complete the project. Most of these are vacant land and not buildings. So there's a difference, and don't necessarily cause any change to the overall property itself. And they are also owned by the 3TB. My initial thought on the legislation is it names the properties as city-owned. So city-owned property in my world is property that is specifically and exclusively owned by the city of Pittsburgh for our own use. The properties that the 3TB holds, the ones that we took in treasure sale that we resell to the public or other entities, would be the ones that the land bank would need to access. So that's issue number one. Issue number two is that not necessarily with vacant land, but with buildings. They're dangerous. Like, they're not in good condition at all. Most of them sat vacant for a really long time before we even took them and were decrepit. So the finance department actually coordinates with DPW. We don't open the buildings ourselves. DPW goes and opens the buildings up. Some of them don't have doors, and they've
Right,
been
because
boarded.
there's plywood,
There's
and so we remove the
right.
plywood, yeah.
So, and some of them, even after they attempt to remove plywood or unlock a door, aren't necessarily safe to enter, and they usually convey that back to us and won't allow us to enter them. Because we're not just going out there ourselves, but we're also taking other people, whether it be the land bank. We've had other like individual buyers that want to see the inside of a building if possible, because they have their own intention of buying it and renovating it and living there. So the same process applies to the land bank, but it also applies to the RA and any other individual entity or business that wants to look at a property before they consider a purchase.
Okay, that's really helpful. So, I think I roughly knew most of this. Now, DPW, when they come on site and they give recommendation on whether or not it's safe to enter the property, are they like this comes out of construction, right? And what background do they have to just so we make sure that on the land bank side that we're putting someone in place that has the expertise that DPW has? Like what expertise are they giving? But I think this is something we can work out. Just
honestly,
this will be worked out in the agreement so that we have that all in place. But it would just be helpful for us to discuss it here.
I'm not entirely sure of their exact qualifications, but we have a specific contact that we use at DPW that goes out, and I guess it's his crew that does the initial open up, and then they go and close them once again after we view them, if it requires like reboarding. Sometimes if there is a door, we're able to attach a padlock, which finance actually then has the keys to, and then we can enter if we need to.
Right.
That usually those ones are a little less, decrepit and a little more on the safe side. There are times too, I need to tell you that since we took these properties in treasure sale, it's contentious, and sometimes the prior owners or their family members live in the same community now and see us going to re-enter the property, and they don't always like it. So we also have to communicate with public safety to be there as well, because there have been times when there's been a safety issue and we need to have police presence present.
Yeah, DPW, I'm sorry, DP. The land bank, it's good to have your guidance, because the land bank should take all those steps as well. And so that needs to be in the agreement that the mayor would and the law department would figure out between the land bank, solicitor, manager, and then just operations of the land bank. So that I'm hopeful that a lot of that can be worked out in drafts of this agreement. I did want to just ask Sally Stademan, if you could just talk about what this agreement like this would do for the land bank.
Yeah, so there's roughly 250 to 300 structures in the city's inventory. We placed, I think, around 100 structures and properties in the treasure sale last year that are slowly coming into the 3TB inventory. For us to go out with our buyer, so if you think about how you're scheduling to visit these properties, on my end it's land bank staff, but also our buyer, which is a community development corporation that has that contractor expertise. They're bringing out their contractor to look at the property. We ideally need to be able to see them at least twice to get them to the point where we can bring them to the land bank's board. we're also, right, we have this expertise at the URA, at PHDC, so we're coming out and we are maintaining, that's part of our job as the land bank, to maintain and access safely this kind of vacant and abandoned property. So just because of the number of people, it just takes months to schedule, and it gives us less flexibility when we're limited to a short number of hours during the day. So we just be able to more efficiently look at property and help decrease the size of the city's inventory, right? Because that's what we're here to do, is help make sure that property's moving along. I want to get that property we requested out of the treasurer sale moving as fast as possible. And so to be able to go out and knock out looking at that property and get our assessments done quickly and efficiently, after 4 p.m. or even before 8, like whatever, to be able to provide that flexibility and just have to schedule with the buyer would make a huge difference in our ability to quickly move through the property.
Thanks for walking us through that from the land bank side. I mean, I think a lot of this feels like common sense, but there are definitely very important steps along the way that we need to ensure the safety of employees that are going to the property, and whether or not it's safe to enter the property, and if there are some contentious matters that could take place, and just coming on the premises in general. So really looking forward to making sure that's all in place in the agreement. And I know there are already a couple suggestions to put into the final piece of legislation here. And one of them is to make sure that this agreement would be approved by the solicitor. And so, we do want our city law definitely involved. I mean, you're going to be inherently involved. So I think that one is a very obvious one that was missed in the initial draft. So looking forward to putting that in, and then also making sure that we're under the understanding of who all needs to be in the agreement. I know that. I received an email from Patrick, Cornell, about talking about how the URA probably should also be a party to the agreement, since land bank employees are technically URA employees. So happy to work through that into the final draft here. And that's all I have at this time, but really looking forward to this. I think as we move forward with all the properties throughout the city that the land bank could take on, we're going to just encounter several ways that we can all be partners to make sure it's successful. So thank you.
Thank you. We have a few other comments from members. Councilwoman Gross.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Great. Thank you both for being here at the table. I just wanted to kind of firstly, I think I heard what Director Gula was saying. I think I had noticed too, and I think there may be another friendly amendment for the sponsors, which is that when I say city-owned properties, I've looked at the spreadsheet, right? And so we don't mean Shenley Park Ice Rink. We don't mean, the Natoli Field House. We don't mean the Bloomfield Rec Center, right? So we're going to change that. We don't need to do it here at the table. It sounds like you're working on some other amendments, right? That will say the 3 taxing body properties is probably the list that we're talking about, right? The treasurer sale properties. So whatever the legal language is to refer to those, I think that should also go in the title of the bill so that people understand that. And then because this is often kind of talked about in media and social media, and sometimes there's misunderstandings, let's kind of just repeat it. We've said it a million times, I think, but we're going to say it again because some people are new to the discussion. There's about 10,000 3 taxing body properties right now. Not 17, not 20, not 25,000, about 10,000. And then, and that does change a little bit, weekly or something, so it's not a perfect number. And then of those properties, I don't know, so I'm going to ask. I feel like it's fewer than 1,000 to have a structure on it.
I can't say for sure, but
The numbers we've looked at are like 250 to 300
Okay,
have structures.
Oh, so,
yeah, and
so
the
like,
rest are
you know,
vacant lots,
yes, so very, very few.
Yeah.
Less than 1%. No, what? 2%, like 2% of all of them, right? If I did my math in my head, I think I did the percents right. Somebody will fix it or correct me if I'm wrong. But so anyway, yeah. So like 250 properties out of 10,000 properties. So there's like 9,800 vacant lots. And then like 200 or so of those have actual structures, and some of those are dangerous. I'm like remembering other times when we've done stuff like this, and maybe it's just a matter of, I don't know if it needs amended or not, but we've actually, by final vote, attached just like the list, right? So that instead of saying any properties, you know, just like put the if you've got a list from DPW director, I don't know if they've looked at all 200, or if they're just doing it ad hoc, right? That like DPW says this one's safe to go in, but nobody should step foot anywhere near this one so it doesn't fall down on your head. Then if there's a list of the ones that are more stable enough, then, you know, we've done this before in other kinds of council resolutions, right? Just like attach the list, and then nobody has to worry about it. I don't know if that's a possibility here.
Yeah, they usually look at them ad hoc,
Oh,
and
it's okay.
sometimes it changes. I mean,
The
and
conditions
to be honest,
of the
something
structure
could look
changes.
they could look halfway decent from the outside, and then
Yeah.
you go in and it's there's no
Just
floor.
a bunch of
So-
sticks. Yeah, exactly.
And you don't get past the front door, so it's just different for
Okay.
everyone.
Okay, so they're not pre-vetted. Okay, yeah, but that makes sense. So again, I feel like everybody's kind of on the same page, but I just wanted to make sure we kind of said in the discussion, because sometimes the public gets a different impression that there's 20,000 houses sitting vacant out there or something, and that is not the case. We have 10,000, 10,000 or so vacant lots, basically. And then there's maybe 200, 250 structures, and some of those are about to fall down on your head. Okay, that's what I understood. Got it. Just want to make sure I heard it correctly. Thank you. That's all, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councilperson Warwick, followed by Councilwoman Kale Smith.
Yeah, so I guess just to clarify, so the assessment of the price, so the land bank comes in, so you find a buyer and then you visit twice?
Well, it depends. If it's a community development corporation or nonprofit, then we start with the buyer, because they have to show how they're going to fundraise to cover the rehab cost. But with the residential rehab program, we're evaluating as to whether the condition of the property in the market would allow us to take that property on to sell to an owner occupant.
Okay, and then as part of that evaluation, are you figuring out whether it's a tear down or a rehab?
Yeah, in a basic way, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so just so I'm clear, so now when you do this, who all comes to the meeting? Like, who all has to be there every time you do this?
So I'm walking through with the CDC. It's going to be the CDC staff or their contractor, Pittsburgh Housing Development Corporation, who also, like the land bank, are URA staff. They do a lot of, I think they've got our largest amount of single-family homes coming out of the city inventory. And they've done dozens and dozens of walkthroughs of city-owned vacant property, or I can bring URA, QC&I staff, who also are not only managing their own vacant property inventory, but also have a lot of experience in construction and walking through vacant and abandoned property. So we've got a lot of expertise available, and would always be going out with someone that has that capacity to determine. And it's a pretty basic, it's always very clear to see when you open up the door whether or not it's safe to enter.
Okay, and so who else? So who's coming from finance?
Oh, and so currently we have to schedule with 2 finance staff and the DPW carpenter, and the carpenter hours are also very, very limited. So it just adds weeks to schedule, but so we want to shrink scheduling with 5 entities down to 2.
Got it. Okay, so right now, okay, and just so I'm clear, how many, and you're bringing, so it would be like yourself and
the buyer.
And the buyer.
You could think of it that way, yeah.
And then you're bringing So DPW's, but would you have a staff member then that would come and do that board, open up and board up?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so, I mean, it sounds like, Director, the concern is like the liability.
That's a huge concern.
That's the concern, is the liability. So the agreement would have to have something that clear, I mean, like, we don't want a potential buyer falling, so that would transfer that liability, to the URA? I mean, okay,
Or
so
just
that's.
hold the city harmless.
Got it. Okay, so this is sort of interesting. This is sort of taking me on a little bit of a separate tangent, but so there's 250. Let's say 300 of these structures in various states of disrepair. That's not all the structures in the city, though, right? That's just the ones that have been.
Right, so we have the ones that haven't arrived in the city's inventory yet that hopefully will be coming later this fall. So that there might be somewhere between 20 to 40 structures in that new tranche coming that we need to get into to see, to evaluate, so we can be prepared to take those on. And then our estimates from the land bank is there's around 1,000 tax delinquent vacant and abandoned structures in the city.
Around 1,000 total.
Yes. With
And-
the data is far from perfect when it comes to vacant and abandoned property, but kind of the back of the napkin math is around 1,000.
And
just
go ahead.
Just to clarify, that doesn't mean that they're owned by the city of
Yeah.
Pittsburgh.
Right. This is
Those are
just
privately
totally-
They could be
Right.
privately
Right.
owned,
Yeah.
So,
which
right.
we could not.
Yeah, no, we would not, there's nothing
Yeah.
we can do to solve being
Those.
able to access the interior of those structures.
Right, okay, so about 300 are like owned by by the three taxing bodies, and there's about 1,000 total. Do we know roughly, I mean, again, I know this is all estimates, but how many of like the 1,000 are salvageable? Or how many even of the
That's-
300 that are, I mean, again, just a guess. We don't know. Okay.
We'd love to help find out.
Yeah, I just kind of, I mean, the thing I'm kind of getting, this is not, I have to say, I am supportive, I think, of anything that's, as long as the liability is taken off the city, right? Because we don't want to get sued for somebody falling through a floor. And also, there would have to be something in place where the land bank folks, whether that's taking a picture to show that they correctly boarded it back up or whatever, you know what I mean? But again, that would be something for the law department to negotiate. But I do want to say, this is not about this, but, we just talking about a $600 million investment in downtown, and just sort of back of the napkin calculation, it feels like for $10 million roughly, we could just tear down every unsightly property owned, well, I mean, the ones that are not, right? And just really do a service to our neighborhoods and blight in this city. The irony that there's $600 million coming in to bail out downtown investors who are having a bad cycle. But we have these properties that have just been sitting here rotting citywide for, decades.
Yeah, and I know we're in
Yeah.
the business of wanting to try and save as many of those as possible, because in most places in the city, once you tear that property down, it's not coming back. And so now that property that could be generating decades of future tax revenue is going to be an
Yeah.
almost valueless lot.
I mean, I get that.
So
Like if it's
we definitely
really
need
salvageable,
demolition.
like if you can fix it for what you could pay to build something new, great. But if you can, I mean, either way, I just sort of wanted to point that out.
And I'm glad you
Generally
did.
speaking. But anyway, yeah, so that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Kell Smith.
Thank you. I just want to say I appreciate your comments. Thank you. Because I do think we should be putting more money into our residential neighborhoods. I love that we're helping downtown. But this is probably like the 7th renaissance for downtown that I've lived through. But I don't know if I've ever lived through one in the West End, or if anybody has actually. So I'd like to see that's, spread out across the city. But this particular piece, I'm happy to see come forward. I actually have a question. We have people that purchase property and they want to get in to the property ahead of time because there's a leak in the roof. They want to fix it. But they said, we have to repair it. We can't let anybody in until everything's finalized, which could take months or even up to a year, I think, 18 months, whatever it is.
Do you know
Is
who
there something?
owns?
It was a guy who
It's
just purchased
3TD?
it. He just purchased it through the real estate department.
He owns it, but we transferred the deed to him?
You didn't do
or-
it yet, but you're in the process of it. There's no reason I see that he won't get it. So I'm just wondering if somebody's willing to do the work. Is there some way that we can work an agreement? Legally is what I'm worried about, is that to make sure that they can fix it, but yet the city's not helping.
If we're really close to completing
You are.
the sale, then we've done access agreements before.
Okay.
So if he
Tell me who I should have him contact.
Have him call me.
Okay.
And
I just didn't know, and I never knew this part because I never thought about somebody wanting to fix it up before they actually had the keys and everything, the whole bit. But he really wants to do that, and he's been doing it across the city and other places. Excuse me, buying property and fixing it up really nicely and keeping it affordable in our areas, which is great. But I do also want to shout out Richard Snipe and the great job that he and his team do. And I'll say we've had 2 stabilization programs in Sheridan because of him, getting ready to do one in Elliott, and we've had scattered sites and houses that he's helped. And he does an amazing. His team, Justin Belton, I think his name is, and Richard, they do an amazing job too.
Yes,
so
they do.
I like seeing you all working together, and I wish it was all under one thing so everybody could move it forward, everything together. But thank you for your work. I just wanted to know about that piece.
Thank you. Any further discussion first round? I'll reiterate what I've already heard as well. The liability and indemnification is important, but I want to make sure with our lawyers and our law department that, a third party, a CDC, a potential buyer would be then, not only the city, but the URA would also be protected in those cases as well. Plaintiffs will sue anyone, and they can still sue the city, and I want to make sure we're protected, and the URA is protected, and the land bank's protected. So that's my big concern. Any further discussion? Second round, Councilman Wilson.
Yeah, I just want to say I appreciate the full discussion here and all the recommendations that come forward throughout members' comments. Looking to pass this now, get a preliminary approval today, and then I believe that the amendments to the bill are not very substantial. So looking forward to making those amendments at final vote.
All those in favor of Bill 1135, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Affirmative recommendation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see everyone.
That moves us on to Intergovernmental and Educational Affairs Committee, chaired by Councilman Mosley.
Bill 1115, resolution granting unto Sports and Exhibition Authority of Pittsburgh, their successors and assigns, the privilege and license to construct, maintain, and use at their own cost and expense, at no cost to the city, raised entrances with flat landings, railings, and stairs, a stair wall and bollards located at the building loading dock, a stair wall with handrail located near the building entrance, and a vault will be constructed in the right-of-way at 1201 Wiley Avenue, 3rd Ward, 6th Council District.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Bill 1115, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Affirmative recommendation. Bill 1116.
Bill 1116, resolution providing for a cooperation agreement or agreements with Pittsburgh Regional Transit in an amount not to exceed $100,000 to support the development of an equitable transit-oriented development program around a to-be-completed new station on the East Busway at Brushton Street.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
Councilperson Charlin.
Is anyone here to discuss this, or maybe
Director Dash?
Director Dash.
Okay, cool.
Morning, members. Andrew Dash, Deputy Director of City Planning.
Shub Tucker, Transit-Oriented Development Planner with the Department of City Planning.
Yeah, so I'm just curious what we're doing here with the transit-oriented development portion of this.
Sure. So last month, City Council approved transfer of funds, the $100,000 from, to city planning for this purpose. The intention is that there was a station area plan that was done for Brushton Station, or for a new Brushton Station as a relocation of the existing Wilkinsburg Station on the East Busway. City planning in combination with PRT is looking to do a kind of real estate and land use analysis to try to create transit-oriented development around this new station that's going to be created. There's a lot of city-owned property. Repurposing that city-owned property was a primary goal of the city's Homewood Plan, which is adopted. And so this $100,000 that the city has is going to go into an agreement with PRT. They are putting $300,000 over 2 years of their own budget to this project. So the city contribution is this $100,000 for a total of $400,000 project.
So is this going to fund, I mean, it says station, is it going to?
No, it's going to fund a project that's going to look at, what the process is for the property within the walkshed of the station. So this could be, zoning and land use changes. This could be, there will be a real estate analysis that'll be done to try to figure out what the best uses, of the property around here should be. There'll be a community engagement process as part of this that will, be connecting with Homewood organizations, with residents to try to determine what a community-informed strategy for these properties, within the walkshed of this new Brushton Station will be, while PRT is looking to invest in the station itself.
So are we going to be doing this in other locations, or is this just one location?
This
legislation is for one location, but
this legislation is for one location. We have discussed with PRT, the possibility of being able to do this in other. There are very few new stations, that are coming online on their, but they did do the next transit plan. They are looking at investigating a number of other corridors, and this could be a model for work that may happen with some of those other new corridors that are through the next transit plan.
I ask because there's at least temporarily there'll be a T line running through my district that wasn't here before, and I'm excited about the opportunity for that and what that can mean with at least a temporary stop there, and if we can prove the concept with showing what is within the walkshed of this stop, that we can maybe do some really great stuff in the South Pittsburgh there. So
yeah, look forward to continuing that as a conversation with some of those locations.
Understanding that this is referring to one stop, my question becomes, how do we replicate this in other places? So,
okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Coghill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Andrew, are you familiar with the T-stop that they're building in Beachview, PRT?
The reconstruction of the stop, the Belasco stop?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Millions and millions of dollars, one of a kind in the nation. It's people are calling from all over the world saying, how are you doing this in the middle of an avenue? So, and that's been put on hold a little bit, but I know that they're moving forward. Did you have to, is your work done on that? Did you have any work on that? You had to approve that, right? Is that right?
Yeah, there was work that was done. There was work that was done on that. I mean, that obviously, part of that initiated when we did the Broadway Avenue Public Realm Plan,
right.
that had outlined that as the station to be rehabilitated first, become accessible.
So your work is done there. I mean, when PRT decides to start building, they don't need to come back to you. You're done.
Well, I mean, it's one of those that depends on a number of things. Obviously,
But their initial plan has been approved by you?
I believe so. That through because the Public Art and Civic Design Commission would since if that is on city property, which I do believe in that case that one is within the city right of way and not separately owned by PRT. So obviously final improvements have to be approved by that body. And I believe in that case that's been
okay.
done.
But the initial, you're aware of the project, planning has okayed the project. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, like I said, in that case, I believe that there's been approval for those improvements, yes.
Okay. I believe I hope they're starting in the spring at the latest, as I think with the plans. What's your name, sir? I'm sorry.
Shub.
Shoot.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I wasn't here when you sat down.
It's all good. No worries.
Okay, so I just want to make sure when that project starts, we don't have to get tied up or bogged down through planning. But you're saying to me, pretty much the initial phase of that project is approved. And if while they're building, if things change, then you have to come in and, reevaluate if possible. But I'm saying there's no process now that we have to worry about planning getting in the way of this project is really my concern.
I don't think that there is. I mean, obviously, Shub and I can go back to the office and make sure that we're giving you the right information, and we can follow up with you in your office to make sure that.
I assumed it was all.
That's the case.
I mean, they already designated the money. We got the design. I don't think they would have done all that without having the okay from planning.
Like I said, I'm pretty sure that that's been done for some time.
I would love to know that. I would love to know that it's got the stamp of approval.
Yeah.
Before they start the project.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
thanks.
we can absolutely follow
Yep.
up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Cale Smith.
I just want to thank you both for your work. I know sometimes I'm pretty tough on city planning, and I'm going to continue to be, but I do appreciate your professionalism and how helpful you've been with a lot of things that we were working on. So thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
And you actually were really good in Sheridan. They were really ready to annihilate city planning at a meeting, but at the end they said they were both, they were really nice, but they still don't like the idea. So.
We're happy to sit down in the community anytime.
Yeah.
Any further discussion on Bill 1116? Councilman Mosley.
Yeah, just real quickly, and this particular piece of legislation is in relation to PRT's proposed plans for the East Busway corridor. I know it was about maybe a little over a year ago. I went to a charrette at the Wilkinsburg train station, and then they were looking at potentially a station closer to like the burgeoning Hamilton Avenue corridor in Larmer, as well as I think moving the Wilkinsburg station closer to the business district in Wilkinsburg, and then moving a station closer to Brushton Avenue, close to like kind of 1700 Susquehanna Street, and kind of that area. So this is all related to that vision. And obviously you don't work, for PRT, but do you know kind of where the status of that vision is in relation to how this would fit into that?
I can only make some
Sure.
some statements based on our conversations, and I think there's obviously some that we can follow up on. I know PRT, in addition to investing some funds into this work in Brushton around a new Brushton station, I think it has either dedicated funds or applied for funds, to do some work around East Liberty. The difference being that they own the property right around where that station is. That's obviously where the garage is, but we can get an update on that and provide that to you, because that would be a project that they would be kind of leading and managing, because it is really around their property with the garage and what the ultimate future of that garage is, and how other land uses get incorporated there.
Sure, absolutely. And I thank you for your work. I'm looking forward. As transit-oriented development, is one of my personal passions. So looking forward to, working with you on that. Thank you for your work, and thank you for coming today, Shub, as well.
Thank you. Any further discussion on Bill 1116? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 1116, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Affirmative recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill 1117.
Bill 1117, resolution amending Resolution 525 of 1990, effective May 24th, 1990, entitled Authorizing the Mayor and the Director, Department of Public Works, to execute a long-term agreement with the Allegheny County Sanitary Authority and the Township of North Fayette to enlarge the area serviced by the Sanitary Authority to provide sewage treatment services for the above, located in the Township of North Fayette, by authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Public Works to execute an amended agreement with Alcosan and the Township of North Fayette in a form substantially similar to the agreement attached as Attachment A.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? I would like to call the representatives from Alcosan to the table. You've been so patient. Thank you for being here. I'd like for us to all understand what this is.
Thank you very much.
If you could introduce yourselves.
Sure. I'm Jean Clark. I'm the Director of Governmental Affairs at Alcosan, and I am joined by two of the biggest brains from our entire engineering staff, in case you have any engineering questions, because I am not one.
Tim Prevost, Manager of What Weather Programs.
Darnetta Craig, Project Engineer 3, also with Alcosan.
So you're probably wondering why we brought this resolution to you for the mayor to sign our agreement. This is a requirement of our founding documents, that because the city of Pittsburgh provided a lot of the financial and other background for the creation of Alcosan, anytime we change our agreements with any of our municipalities and municipal authorities, the mayor and council get to sign on. This is not going to cost the city any money. We are, North Fayette is the township, and they are in the process of really growing their population and their businesses. Yeah. And so they're going to need additional capacity. So we have been negotiating with them about how to get that additional capacity, and we are delighted to say we've achieved that agreement, and we have signed the agreement, and the township has signed the agreement. This would authorize the mayor and the head of Public Works to sign the agreement as required by the founding documents. I think this may be the third time I've come in on one of this. This is a little bit a bigger deal than the time I came in for just add 3 houses in Robinson. But it's a requirement, and we're delighted to be here. I want to thank Councilwoman Cale Smith, who's on our board of directors, who advanced this for us, and also Deputy Mayor Jake Pollock, who has helped with this. So we're open to any questions. I can answer the questions about the why and kind of the philosophy. They can answer questions about exactly what we're doing, if you care, about expanding capacity. We have 2 programs in addition that are also involved in this. The regionalization program, which Darnetta is the expert on here, and that is we are in the process of negotiating with all of our municipalities to take over the largest sewers, to manage them holistically, to repair them where necessary. And we also have our green revitalization of our waterways program, which Manager Prevost handles, and that also helps our municipalities to reduce flow wherever possible. So those are all mentioned in the resolution. So if you have any questions, and thank you, Chair Mosley, for bringing this forward.
Thank you. I see Councilman Coghill, followed by Councilwoman Cale Smith, followed by Councilman Gross. Councilman Coghill.
Welcome, Jean. Welcome.
Thank you.
Darnetta and Tim. Tim.
Yes.
Right? Okay. So essentially you're taking on a new client, is that right?
It's the same client we're taking on. We're providing them with more capacity because they're a growing community.
Oh, I see. This may be, I should probably know this, but does Alcosan operate, are they subsidized, or do you turn a profit, or how does...
We're a nonprofit
Right.
authority. We are a conveyance and sewer authority. And the way we operate is our customers, our direct customers, are our 83 municipalities, including the City of Pittsburgh, PWSA, and authorities. And those municipalities and authorities bill the end users, the ratepayers. We have received some federal assistance, mostly through the Army Corps of Engineers, but because we're in a clean water plan right now that will cost $2 billion, we're a far cry from any money coming in otherwise. So right now, it's all paid for by our ratepayers. We do have a terrific credit rating, and we go out into the bond market frequently to bond our capital projects. Right now, we have about $350 million of construction going on at our plant to double the size of the plant. And next year, you'll see us start moving on the major tunnels that we're building.
Right. So the ratepayer pays the municipality. The municipality pays Elkasam.
Right.
Correct. Like
Right.
you kind of operate like in probably a bigger version, like PRT. I mean, they're subsidized, but they also get an income of rider shares.
Our agreement with our municipalities is that we bill them, they pay us, and we take anything they send. We take what they send within the capacity agreements.
Yeah, but even with all those ratepayers from all those municipalities, it doesn't keep up with the costs.
Right.
That you have, especially when you're digging underneath
We're having
rivers and
to
things
having
like
to
that, right?
bond.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
when the federal government said you're going to spend $2 billion between now and 2036, you don't have a whole lot of choices. Part of my job is to visit Harrisburg and DC and anybody who might listen.
Yeah, well, it's on my bucket list to tour the place. I have not been through Elkasam.
Oh, we'll be happy to give you a tour.
Yeah, I think I'll take you up on that.
Sure,
sometime.
sure.
That's all for me, Madam Chair. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you. Get so excited about sewage.
It's the best thing ever.
Councilman, I do highly recommend the Alkasand Fair every September, August,
Open
September.
house.
Open house, yeah. Councilwoman Kale-Smith.
I'll let Councilwoman Gross go because she has questions. I just want to wrap it up.
Councilwoman Gross, thank you.
Thank you. So this is one of the bills that every one of the 83 municipalities has to agree to expand the system.
Right.
Right. So the Alkasand system with the 83 municipalities was first put into place, when was it, 1950?
We went active in *59, and prior to that time, the day before, all but 2% of all sewers went directly into the rivers.
And so this new, is it an intermunicipal line?
It's not a new line.
Table they're bringing.
Why don't I have the engineers explain this part? I'll just shut up.
I do know this part of the county, and it is been farmland for, I'm 58, for almost my entire life. And just within the recent years, it's basically what we like to call, because we're city residents, so I like to call it suburban sprawl, but yeah.
The request from North Fayette to purchase additional capacity is a result that when they originally came into the system, they purchased so much capacity, but now they are planning, they have room to grow, but they are now getting close to their capacity allocation. Therefore, they're requesting to buy more capacity. It's not common with our service agreements that a municipality has to purchase. Many of the originals, including the city of Pittsburgh, has no allocations. But because this municipality came in 1990, later in the game, they had a capacity allocation.
And
so
why would the attorneys require that they have a capacity allocation?
The capacity allocation was probably determined at the time because they came in late in the game, and we needed to control what was coming to us.
Because when it exceeds, what happens?
Oh, we overflow.
Right? And so adding these houses, connecting more houses here, means more sewage overflow.
With the plant expansion,
Which hasn't happened yet.
Which will happen.
Which will happen by when?
2020, end of 2025, they will increase
These
to 295.
conveyances will goes straight to the plant?
Those
The
conveyances
plant is
will-
expanded, but what about the intermunicipal conveyances?
The municipal conveyances will receive the benefits of an increased plant capacity, lower hydraulic grade line in the interceptors, and that will be seen throughout Chartiers Creek, which this is tributary to.
Really? So what about like from my district? So why are we digging a 150-foot tunnel straight down to the river and a tunnel under the river from Highland Park all the way to the municipal plant?
So
This one just kind of happens magically.
Our overflow problem is not because we don't have enough space for dry weather. We have plenty of space in the system to treat sewage. It's during stormwater and snowmelt.
So when it rains, are these homes going to cause even more overflow into the river? I was just told no. I thought I was just told no.
In all probability, no. That our suburban communities, especially in those areas.
Yeah, we're only voting on this area today.
Right. Tend to have separated systems and newer systems.
Okay.
So the separated systems.
Will this one have separated?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that the inflow of just the sanitary flow is not going to add much more, because it doesn't go directly, it doesn't like jump over all the other lines straight to the Alcosan plant, right? It still has to go through non-separated sewers to the Alcosan plant.
There is a unique quality to this one, is that the flows from this area in North Fayette goes to a pump station that regulates the flows. So the flows are not going to be, the capacity is not going to increase, is just going to stay the same.
Fascinating. And so that would be different than like adding more at like Upper St. Clair or something. Or does that one also go through this pump station?
Some of Upper St. Clair goes to a pump station, but not all of it.
Yeah.
Additionally, we are building a pump station with a EQ tank available for storage. So any overflows will be going to that storage tank.
Where's that going to be?
Oakdale?
And is that in this plan that we'd be approving as well today?
Yes.
No. Yes?
The Oakdale pump station is not part of this plan.
No, it's not part of this agreement.
Okay.
We do have the agreement of the municipalities to work with them as part of our regionalization to create a pump station or a better pump station in that area. It is a multi-million-dollar cost, and I have been busy trying to raise that money from the federal government right now. Otherwise, we will be bonding that.
You know, the other bills that have come before us over the years, when they are just like 2 more houses or 3 more houses, they're kind of surrounded by the Alcosan system, and it just makes sense. But are we going to just say yes every time? Like, how much bigger is the Alcosan system going to get? Like, I don't think we should be like crossing over to like new places in the county that could be served by another sanitary sewer systems. We're not the only one.
Right now, we have no plans to expand to other municipalities, but if our municipalities that we already have as customers need more capacity, then we respond to that request.
What's plan B for these new construction areas? Is there another sanitary sewer facility they could tap into?
Well, sewage, like water, goes downhill, and so
except for when it's coming from Upper St. Clair and it has to be pumped over, small mountains.
And so generally speaking, the least expensive way for a municipality to handle this, if they're already in our system, is to just ask for the extra capacity, which again, we have that capacity. They just have to pay a capital fee for it.
What's the capital fee here?
It's in the resolution, not the resolution, but it's in the First Amendment, which I think you got. And it, let me find the fees.
It is.
It changes.
It changes, yeah. It
page
goes up
2 where
as
it's-
they need. They don't have to buy all of the additional capacity at once. It's $8,670,158
Per million gallons
per million gallons.
per day.
Is that ongoing? So that's on, wait, say that again for me? Is that like a one-time thing?
It is on page 2. Capital fee on the date of this agreement is $8,670,158 per million gallons.
And how often are they
And
going
so
to do
the
a million gallons?
township, then, I'm sorry.
How often are they going to do a million gallons? Or that's like in perpetuity? I'm not understanding the time.
Every so often, we recalculate our capital fee.
And so it's like million gallons per year or million
Right,
gallons?
so they have kind of
over
a sliding scale. We've signed a term sheet with them so that on the effective date, they'll purchase 10
0.1 million gallons.
0.1 million.
0.1 million gallons per
Math is
day.
hard.
Per day.
Right.
And
It's an agreement structured over 20 years.
It's a daily
it's
flow.
a 20-year agreement, yeah.
they'll purchase the initial capacity of 0.1, so roughly about $870,000. And then that will give them the capacity for that first 5 years. And then after the 5 years, they can purchase another 0.1. So it's not purchasing
It
it
expires
all at
after
once.
5 years.
It doesn't expire. It continues. The amendment is requesting 0.531 MGD. And so we'll go 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, and then at the end of the term, 20 years, they'll purchase the remaining. And at every increment, there will be a new capital fee assigned to them, and they will purchase that capital fee. And that was their election. They did not elect to purchase it all at once. They wanted to purchase it as they moved along. If they don't need it, they won't purchase it.
How much does the city of Pittsburgh pay? And I promise my colleagues I will stop soon. How much do we pay?
For a capital fee? $0.
It's good to know. So yeah, I mean, I back in the day read the Z agreement. It took me like a whole day, right? And we're pretty used to reading these kinds of agreements, but it's fascinating. The original financing structure that went into building the original Alcosan capacity, which is what the Z agreement is, right? We 83 or whatever it was at the time, municipalities agreed to these things.
59, 60.
We had original municipalities, and then as the suburbs grew and it made sense for them to join us, we have new agreements. So this is one of the newer agreements. But, we're not looking to add municipalities necessarily. But
you will own this line?
I'm sorry?
So Alcosan owns these lines? No, or the municipality owns these lines?
That's
the line that's like on the map that is attached in our
Robinson?
packet.
I believe that is one of the lines. Darnetta.
Yeah, there's a portion that North Fayette owns and will continue to own, and it's that portion.
That teeny tiny zigzag right there?
Correct.
And then the long one that's all the way across the page, and it's Exhibit C for anyone at home that wants to pull up the Legistar packet. That part is yours?
That's a trunk line that's eligible for transfer. So we're in the process of transferring that into our ownership and operation.
Is that why they have to pay you a fee? Because it's yours? Or no?
No.
It's just because they're latecomers to the
To the original agreement.
The original agreement, so they weren't original financiers of the facility build out. Good to know. I mean, I'll just admit that I'm a little more emotionally vested because my mom's from Oakdale, so I know this area, right? And this was, again, farmland. Again, I'm not an enthusiastic endorser of suburban sprawl, which this additional capacity is accommodating. It's not really in our general population, advantage, right? But this is clearly an addition that is not unreasonable for Alcoasand to take on and does reduce flow or overflow into the river. So that's, I'm satisfied with my questions, and thank you for putting, for my colleagues for putting up with me.
Thank you. Councilwoman Cale Smith.
I just want to thank you, everyone from Alcoasand, because I am on the board there, but you run like a well-oiled machine. I mean, everything that you do, the knowledge that's there, and they give us presentations for everything before we even bring something here to council or vote on things. So I want to thank you all for the work that you do. And I've never seen anybody get so excited about sewage stuff. It makes me sick. And Arletta gets so excited about it all. She actually enjoys talking about it. It's like a thing. It's kind of like Councilwoman Gross there. But for me, I can't. And I want to thank and acknowledge that I took the place of Corey O'Connor, who was then Councilman O'Connor, who became the chairperson of Alcoasand, and then Mayor Gainey. I want to thank Mayor Gainey for appointing me. And my term has expired years after I leave here, so we're going to have to work something out before then, so somebody else can come step in. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Thank you.
Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 1117, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Affirmative
Thank you all.
recommendation.
Thank you for your
Thank
work.
you all for
Thank
joining
you for
us.
answering all the
Thanks for your work.
questions so well.
That moves us on to our final bill of the day, Bill 1123.
Bill 1123, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Public Works to enter into an agreements and/or amendments with the Pittsburgh Water and Sewer Authority for the purpose of municipal sewer compliance at Volunteer Ball Field in the Carrick neighborhood at a city cost not to exceed $486,808 over a period of 1 year.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none.
I do.
Councilman
mean,
Coghill.
I guess I thought this project was done. Sewer compliance, volunteer ball field. Nobody's here to be.
Is somebody here to talk?
Purpose of
Director Hornstein is supposed to be here. Do we have any? We have Director Newman here. Would you like to call DPW up?
Hello. Marcel Newman, Assistant Director of Public Works.
Yeah, Marcel, I was there a couple of years ago. I thought this project was like done. It's ongoing?
This is ongoing. This is the regrading of fields 1 and 2.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
good.
With PWSA.
So that's happening.
Regrading costs this much?
Soon. It's underway. It's underway.
Oh, it's
but
underway.
we have a
So we
responsibility.
did the swells and to capture
That's
rainwater. I always knew that the fields were going to be graded and leveled off, and
Right.
that is happening.
That's happening.
This year, this winter.
Right.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
We'll be ready for the season? No.
Keeping our fingers crossed,
gotcha,
yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. I guess, the Carrick Athletic Organization will figure something out if it's not, but I know it's an important project, so. And that's it. That's the final phase there.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Marcel.
Sure.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 1123, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Affirmative recommendation. Thank you. Having exhausted our agenda, we will now move on to meeting announcements. This afternoon at 1:30 p.m., Council will hold the overview and policy discussion for the 2025 budget. Also this afternoon, with a session at 3 p.m. and 3:45 p.m., Council will hold a briefing as it relates to Domi's right-of-way fee schedule. Thursday, November 14th at 10 a.m., Council will hold budget hearings for the Department of Finance, including the 3 taxing bodies and the Department of Law. Thursday afternoon at 1:30, Council will hold a cablecast public hearing on Bill 525 as it relates to the Homewood Square rezoning. Speaker registration will close at noon. To register to speak at this meeting, please fill out the sign-up form on the Council meeting webpage by the deadline. You may also call the clerk's office at 412-255-2138. Friday, November 15th at 10 a.m., Council will hold budget hearings for the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure. And lastly, Friday, November 15th at 1:30 p.m., Council will hold budget hearings for the Department of Permits, Licenses, and Inspections, and the Department of City Planning. Next week, Council will hold their regular meeting and standing committees meeting on Tuesday, November 19th and Wednesday, November 20th at 10 a.m. respectively. Speaker registration will close at 9 a.m. the morning of each meeting. To register to speak at these meetings and hearings, please fill out the sign-up form on the council meeting webpage by the deadlines. You may also call the clerk's office at 412-255-2138. Is there anything from members? Councilman Mosley.
Yeah, I'd like to call for a post agenda on MB Affordables, multifamily and scatter site properties in the city of Pittsburgh.
Thank you. Do we have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, we don't have to actually vote on that. So, but thank you. Thank you for your support of Councilman Mosley's post agenda. Anything else from members?
It's a rookie mistake.
Seeing none, can I have a motion to approve the minutes and adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.